What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what's going on with Tesla SPY, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and talk about why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. And we also have some big earnings coming out from Tesla very soon. We have the earnings themselves, but the earnings call starts a little bit later, so I'm going to be talking about that later on. But anyways, that's pretty much it for the time being. Before I say anything, let me just mention I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Now, this all friends in just about 13 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. NIO is down 7.27% for today after NIO announced that it's considering using car dealerships in Europe. And that was not the best of news because the news is basically saying that NIO is sidestepping on the issue, which is the fact that it fails to meet internal sales goals for its cars. And NIO said that are going to choose the model that best suits the local market and the brand's developmental needs. So this is not really controversial in the eyes of a lot of people, but many of the luxury dealerships like Lexus and Porsche offer good customer service. But one of the things that's worth noting is that this could be a little bit more difficult for their brand, and the fact that they don't really meet every single one of the sales goals is a little concerning to some investors. Now, on top of all of this, NIO currently operates 6 NIO House showrooms on the continent where customers could look at and test drive 5 different models and the launched ET5 sedan. And that is some good news for NIO, but with the competition increasing, NIO has to find different ways to expand. So dealerships could offer a shortcut for NIO with sales staff who could basically incentivize a particular car to a customer. And they, even if they don't even have an intention for the particular brand, they could take advantage of that moving forward. Many times the staff are very familiar and they can use it with their own brands. But if NIO does end up doing this, this could work in their favor. So whether or not they do this isn't really clear, but many people see this as a step in the wrong direction because, once again, these dealerships may have different intentions. They may not help NIO as much as they could, and whether or not this works out will depend on different factors. Direct to the customers is the future of the car sales, and dealerships are basically acquainted models that generally offer no upside to customers. So I mean, I don't know if NIO could trust, these particular dealers to give them the best kind of like view of the cars or provide the best kind of like services. So I would love to see NIO sell them alone in their own ways, basically, instead of having to depend on dealerships. But we'll have to see. I mean, this could help to some extent. I mean, it could give them more exposure in different parts which they couldn't have reached before. So, I mean, mixing both could work, but I would prefer if NIO finds a way to just take control themselves. And we will see what happens as time goes on. Anyways, to add on to this, I just want to mention that Neil's talking about the EC6, which still has so much immense potential. And as for what's about to happen in the stock market, we have Tesla announcing earnings. Tesla actually missed on earnings. They missed on EPS. 66 cents per share was EPS versus 73 cents expected. And revenue is about 23.35 billion. This has led to different concerns amongst different investors. However, Tesla also announced that the Cybertruck is on track to be coming out officially for them to do the launch events and everything like that for 2024. They're almost there. They're basically in a very, very nice production phase, and they're going to be coming out very, very soon officially. And we're waiting for that. That's announced by Tesla. And on top of that, the AI development is looking like it's making a lot of progress. Tesla's still holding up with these pieces of news coming up. So we're going to see how this affects the market going into tomorrow. It's going to be very impactful and very, very important. Now, when it comes to tomorrow, when it comes to data affecting the markets, Tesla's earnings is going to cause a very, very big move. We also have initial jobless claims coming out an hour before the market opens. Then, as time goes on, we have Jerome Powell giving a speech at noon. This is going to be about 2.5 hours after the market ends up opening. So we're going to be watching to see what Jerome Powell ends up saying, listen to what he ends up saying about the markets. We're going to be watching this very carefully. Now, when it comes to NIO, alongside other stocks, we had about 51 million in volume, which is well above average. Not bad for NIO standards, but NIO was dropping on higher volume than before, which is a bearish signal. Now, Deutsche Bank is still giving NIO a buy rating. And on top of all of this, you can see when it comes to seasonality, NIO has a tendency of being green about, I think for Thursdays, about 50% of the time. So there's not much change there. And we're continuing to see different financial metrics on a slight decline, which is revenue per share. So we'll see what happens with NIO's earnings. But when it comes to the share price, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to move right now because it depends on Tesla and those other factors. But I do want to call out that NIO looks bearish now because we have this head and shoulders like pattern on the daily charts. And right now, we're basically approaching this support right here towards the $7 area. NIO looks like it's going to test $7 very soon before bouncing. So I could see it drop a little bit more before we do get a bounce. The daily is about to get a bearish cross on the PPO, and there's a risk of more downside thanks to that. We also have a bearish looking daily candle for today. It looks like NIO just sold off with the market. So the market came down with NIO. The market played a role in why NIO dropped alongside the European news. So with this going on, and also some sales declines in China and other factors involving the Chinese government, all these things came together, which caused NIO to drop 7%. I could see it now continuing to sink. Unfortunately, it failed to hold the key support we were talking about yesterday. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of this thing coming all the way down to the much lower sevens. $7 could be a good target as we have a head and shoulders. Now, whether or not we bounce still will depend on the markets. I think NIO is down quite a bit, so look for a little bounce first, maybe a backtest of about 8.2 before it rejects and continues into like the $7 area. So I could see a bit more downside before it makes an attempt to bounce, but just look at this head and shoulders for reference, as more downside could eventually come. Now for Tesla, we're a little bit green in the after hours. We're going to be watching to see if Tesla ends up tanking. Sorry, this is Tesla right here. There are two gaps. There's a gap in the 270s above. There's also a gap in the 210s. One of them could get filled depending on earnings. So we're going to be waiting for the call. I can't be recording this after the call, guys. I'm not going to be available since it's going to be very late. It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to go on for quite some time. SPY has this gap up here. I think it just filled the gap above, but we're going to be watching the SPY crash towards 425 or pump to 435 plus. We will find out after Tesla's earnings. Apple, if we get a bullish outcome from earnings for tomorrow, we could see 178 plus. And for bearish, watch it come down to 171 or so very soon. We also have a head and shoulders on Apple. If I pull up like the 2 hour time frame, you can see it more clearly. With this head and shoulders forming, the odds do favor more downside, but just to be safe, let's watch it for confirmation. Looking at SPY, we're going to be watching to see if this thing can break above 435 or if we get a big rug pull and we break below 430. There's a chance we could bounce as we have a very, very nice, we had a very, very strong amount of downside. And on top of that, we have this potential divergence that could start to form. So we're going to be watching this very carefully. We're going to be watching to see if SPY can hold 430 and also how Tesla affects it. If the market gets a pump tomorrow thanks to Tesla, we could see SPY make its way back up to 434. If we get a rug pull, watch it come down to 427. Last but not least, when it comes to another ticker such as the QQQ, if we're bullish, watch it push up towards 365. If we're bearish, you want to see it come down towards 359. And then for the Nvda stock, we're barely holding 420. If we lose at 415 and 410 are possibilities. If we try to balance, then we could see it try to make its way back above 430. Now, Nvidia does have a large head and shoulders, which is a possibility. You could also look at Nvidia like this. Maybe don't worry about the large one, but just look at the smaller one. We also have a smaller head and shoulders on Nvidia stocks. So, I mean, if it does continue selling off, we could see this thing approach 415 very soon. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully, if anything. So that's going to be very important. And with that said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. So let's get ready for Tesla's earnings call. We'll see how this affects the markets. And with that said, have a great day, all. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow to discuss how Tesla's earnings went. So expect some high volatility. Just know that NIO could pop a bit towards 8.2 and eventually start to sell off as we are looking a bit more bearish now, looking at the head and shoulders that has formed on the much larger time frames. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I will see you guys very soon. Yes, there could be some downside for NIO, but the long term of the stock is still very bright nonetheless. I do believe NIO will base very, very soon before we get a monstrous run for the end of the year. All right. So thank you. I'll see you guys soon tomorrow, and peace out.